We're all familiar with the Universal Globe, the Columbia Torch Lady, the Disney Castle, and the DreamWorks Boy in the Moon. But the production companies who produce and finance various movies also have their own logos that stand out. And I'm going to celebrate some of my favorites in this countdown. Now, one rule I have is that they cannot be a distributor. They have to be a production company that has the films released by a big studio like Disney or Warner Brothers, an indie distributor like Neon or A24, or a streamer like Netflix. But at no point in their history have they distributed their own movies. That's the basic criteria. Anyway, here are my personal favorite production company logos, starting with Mandalay Pictures. Founded by former Sony Pictures CEO Peter Guber, Mandalay has produced movies like 7 Years in Tibet, Sleepy Hollow, I Know What You Did Last Summer, and The Kid's Alright. There are a few reasons I decided to include that logo in this countdown. One is I think it's a visually pleasing logo with a shot of the jungle and then panning down to reveal a tiger jumping out. Even though they're not too prolific, that's still enough to make this a logo that stands out. There's also a funny reason why the logo is on this list. You know that Family Guy joke of Peter thinking the production company logo is the first shot of the movie?
All right, let's see what you got, Fox. Oh, I bet that's a sea monster. Oh, that's not the movie.
Well, that's my reaction to the Mandalay logo every time. The Columbia or Paramount logo fades out, I see the opening shot and think it's the star of the movie, then the tiger shows up and I think, oh wait, never mind, it's just Mandalay again. But with that said, still a great logo. Jim Henson Pictures, the shortest-lived production company on this list. This was started by Brian Henson, initially as part of a deal with Sony. They produced movies like Buddy, Muppets from Space, The Adventures of Elmo in Grouchland, and Good Boy. And the logo was also added to earlier Jim Henson productions like The Muppet Movie for certain DVD releases. The idea of having Kermit the Frog on a camera crane is an inspired one, and it's difficult not to smile to see him up there. The fanfare is great, as is the build-up, and it's just an appropriate way to begin any production associated with the Hensons, whether it has Muppets or not. One slight variation that sticks out to me was used on Muppets from Space, with the crane falling slightly, giving Kermit a little fright. There's even a version of this that has Animal apologize, suggesting he's working the crane off-screen. It's just a delightful logo and a great use of Jim Henson's most famous creation. Scott Free Productions. Primarily known as the production company responsible for movies directed by Ridley Scott and his late brother Tony, the logo is one I find very atmospheric and almost seems to tell a story of its own. Drawn in a watercolor style, it utilizes mood, music, and sound to excellent effect. The logo appears to center on a man sneaking about, he lights a cigarette which catches someone's attention, and then he transforms into a bird. This logo was created by Italian animator Gianluigi Toccofondo, who did an amazing job, and while I don't know what served as the specific inspiration, maybe I don't need to. It's easy to see why Ridley Scott commissioned him to make this logo, and Scott even hired him to animate the end credit sequence of his movie Robin Hood. Every time I see the Scott Free logo, it does the job of immediately pulling me into the movie regardless of what follows. Blue Sky Studios. For years, the Blue Sky logo was just the studio's name in a circle. However, in 2013, a new logo premiered with Epic, and it instantly became one of my favorites. Featuring that mascot Scrat chasing that elusive acorn, this put so much humor into only a few seconds. I always walked into every Blue Sky movie with excitement, but this already brought a smile before the film even started. The person assigned to animate Scrat in this logo was Jeff Gabor, who was one of the top animators at the studio, and among his contributions was animating Horn in Horn Hears a Who, Mary Catherine in Epic, and Snoopy in the Peanuts movie. He even won an Annie Award for his character animation in Rio. After Blue Sky was sadly closed, Gabor got a job at Illumination, where he animated on the Super Mario Bros. Movie, and he is now working as a lead animator at Epic Games. Anyway, ever since this logo was introduced, it was common to hear the audience laughing when Scrat fell off, and it's easy to see why. Castle Rock Entertainment. Like a lot of people, I mostly associate the logo for Rob Reiner's production company with Seinfeld. However, it's also appeared at the beginning of several of their movies, including Misery, Shawshank Redemption, City Slickers, and Dracula Dead and Loving It. While the logo will be slightly tweaked over the years, the general image and fanfare would stay the same. It makes fantastic use of the lighthouse imagery by having the light shine the name of the company. Reiner's regular composer, Mark Shaman, wrote the fanfare, which is a wonderful bit of music that triumphantly builds. I may think of Four Selfish Friends from New York City whenever I see this logo, but that does not take away from the excitement it generates. Walt Disney Animation Studios. Even though this legendary animation studio has existed for over 100 years, it surprisingly took until Meet the Robinsons in 2007 for them to get a special logo before their movies. But it was a fantastic logo, wonderfully incorporating the Mickey Mouse cartoon Steamboat Willie and paying tribute to the art of hand-drawn animation. Of course, the logo was created when the plan was for the studio to make a consistent number of hand-drawn features, and since then there have been two. Nonetheless, it's still great to see this logo show up before the movies. Sometimes the film's soundtrack will play instead of Mickey whistling, and Wreck-It Ralph did a video game themed variation. But whatever version of the logo plays, it's a great way to get excited for whatever animated magic will follow. Morgan Creek Entertainment. Sometimes all it takes is a great piece of music to elevate a logo, and that applies to the Morgan Creek logo, which uses the main theme from one of their productions, Robin Hood Prince of Thieves, composed by Michael Kamen. It's an epic piece of music that was a good fit for the adventures of the famous legend, and it makes sense why co-founder James Robinson would choose it to represent his company. Thus, this music would greet audiences at the start of Stay Tuned, True Romance, Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, and other films produced by them. The design of the logo is also a strong one, with a simplicity that works, as we see the creek come into view, and then the company's name is revealed in all of its glory. While the distribution rights to the library have changed over the years, going from 20th Century Fox to Warner Brothers to now Sony Pictures, this logo remains intact and is a wonderful way to begin their movies. Marvel Studios. For while Marvel movies, whether part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe or licensed to other companies, would begin with flipping comic book pages, and it was certainly a creative logo. However, in 2016, likely to differentiate from the Marvel adaptations being produced by 20th Century Fox and Sony, and also to add a more personal touch, a new logo was introduced at the beginning of Doctor Strange. With a fanfare composed by Michael Giacchino, it definitely captures the feeling of excitement Marvel hopes to achieve with every movie. I love how it begins with the comic book pages before showing the movie scenes complete with lines from their screenplays, and then finally showing the Marvel Studios name in all of its glory. This logo will even change depending on the movie, with different characters being included. It also appears at the start of each episode of their Disney Plus shows, which is fitting as it does have the feel of the television show intro. And I confess I never pressed the skip intro button. Why would I? Many more characters will be added to this logo as Marvel continues to bring more of their comic creations to the screen, and this certainly makes for a great way to begin each new adventure. Amblin Entertainment. The logos I've talked about have primarily appeared at the start of the movie, but in the case of Amblin, it was only recently that showed up as part of the opening studio logos. However, even though one had to wait until the very end, it was still great to see it. Since this is Steven Spielberg's production company, it's fitting the logo will be of one of his most iconic images, Elliot and E.T. flying in front of the moon, with John Williams also composing an adventurous fanfare for it. The logo would first appear at the end of Gremlins, and then continue to be used on almost every Amblin production since. Curiously, the movie I most associate the Amblin logo with is Back to the Future, as it matches so well with Alan Silvestri's score. In 2015, a new logo would premiere in front of Jurassic World with updated animation, and it was a fantastic way to bring a further dimension to this recognizable image. A particularly nice touch was the use of the logo in The Fabelmans, where it merges with the Universal logo. That almost felt like Spielberg thanking Universal for taking a chance on him when he was starting out, and for remaining a strong partner for so many years. Spielberg is known for directing or producing movies with a sense of wonder, so it's fitting Amblin's logo would have the same appeal. Now, before I bring up my number one favorite production logo, there are several more I considered for this top 10 that I want to give an honorable mention to. Bad Robot, which is J.J. Abrams' production company, is a charming logo of a robot running across a field. I think it fits especially well with the Star Trek movies he produced. I like that each film produced by Illumination Entertainment has its own logo specific to that movie, while also finding funny uses for the Minions. Nickelodeon Movies has had a lot of variants over the years, and I do like how they change things up. I particularly like one they've used on occasion the past few years of SpongeBob pulling a lever that lights up the name. Regency has a grand and prestigious feel to it with great use of Danny Elfman's main theme from the movie Summersby. Caravan Pictures has a really nice logo of a man walking towards some mountains, although I most associate this logo with the end of Inspector Gadget, when we see the man take off in a helicopter hat like Gadget does in the movie. Monkey Paw Productions, Jordan Peele's company, has a great stop-motion logo with all sorts of fun details and fitting the kinds of films he usually produces. Jerry Bruckheimer Films has an exciting logo of a tree getting struck by lightning, which also continues a motif from the logo used when he and Don Simpson were producing films together. And Ron Howard and Brian Grazer's production company, Imagine Entertainment, has a great logo of a droplet falling into some water with the name appearing when it ripples. As you can see, it was hard to narrow it down to 10. But my number one favorite production company logo is Pixar Animation Studios. I always look forward to every new movie Pixar produces, and seeing the lamb from their short, Luxo Jr. hopping across the screen definitely provides that sense of curiosity of what the studio in Emeryville has created this time. In addition to being a great way to pay homage to one of their earlier shorts, there will always be an amusement seeing Luxo jump on the eye and then look at the audience in confusion or maybe shame. It was Pete Docter who designed and animated this logo, and it would make its debut at the end of Toy Story, and then would greet audiences at the beginning of their feature films from A Bug's Life onwards. I personally remember it playing at the start of the Toy Story animated storybook and Activity Center CD-ROMs, but seeing on the big screen is something else entirely. There have been the occasional variations, like a red version at the start of Incredibles 2, and a 3D version where Luxo hops towards the audience. And at the end of WALL-E is a special logo where that little robot rolls in, switches Luke's burnt out bulb, and then causes the R to drop. This has become such a recognizable and classic logo for a reason, and a key part of Pixar's longevity. While I'll not be surprised if there have been internal discussions to switch it up, I'm glad the original logo has remained intact to this day. Now let me know in the comments what your favorite production company logos are, and I'll see you next time.